Someday I will be strong enough to lift not one but both of us.
Ever thought about losing it? When your money's all gone and you lose your whip, you might lose your grip. When the landlord tell you that you're due for rent and the grass so green on the other side, make you really want to run straight through the fence. Open up the fridge about 20 times, but you still can't find no food in it. That's foolishness. And sometimes I wonder why we care so much about the way we look and the way we talk and the clothes we bought, how much that costs. Does it even really matter? Because life is an uphill battle. We all trying to climb in the same old boat with the same ladder. Why so shallow? I'm just asking, what's the pattern to the madness? Everybody ain't a #1 draft pick. Most of us ain't Hollywood actors. But if it's all for one and one for all, then maybe one day we all can ball. Do it one time for the underdogs. Sincerely yours, one of y'all.
Good morning, class. What you've heard this morning and are listening to is a single song performed by two drastically different musical forms of expression: contemporary pop and urban rap. It's kind of like sitting in a car listening to two different radio stations while somebody twists it back and forth real quick. There's a compound question that you have to ask yourself. Are you so distracted by the two forms of music that it's hard to understand the message, or is it that because you don't like one style of music over the other, you refuse to actually listen to it? So what we're going to do today is we're going to break down what's actually being said in these lyrics. Now, first off, there was something referred to as a whip. Let's get this. Now, a whip is not something that you beat wild animals with. A whip is actually a car. Now, imagine how drastically different your life would be if your car was taken away. It actually gets worse. Imagine if your landlord begins to evict you because you don't have enough money to pay the rent. Or if you own a home and you're in default on the mortgage and they foreclose on you. So now we're talking about, stay with me, this is a home. Imagine if you lost your home. Where would you go? Well, I know this is something we can all relate to. We've all walked into the kitchen, opened up the refrigerator door, and we stare inside that refrigerator. We're looking at all the food. We don't know what we want to eat, but we keep staring. But imagine what would happen if you looked in the refrigerator and there was no food in there. And to make things worse, in this nightmare, you might have opened up that refrigerator door 20 times. There is still no food. Now, what we have actually done in the first portion of the song, we're at level 1, we have talked about 3 essential elements of society today: transportation, food, and shelter. We're going to take a look at the next level: status or the pride of life. Why is it that we are so concerned about the clothes we wear? Are we more concerned about the label inside or actually how much it costs? We're all looking for success in our job and in our social circles, but society tries to tell us something different. They said, you can be different. You can actually succeed the way other people don't. But the problem with that is, guess what? We're all the same. We're in the same boat. We're climbing the same ladder. We have the same objectives in life that we're actually trying to accomplish. If you're on this side of the fence or that one, the reality is the issues on this side are just as difficult as the issues on that side. Not everyone is a #1 draft pick. It's because there's only one of them. That leaves the rest of us. And when we go to the movies, we go to watch Hollywood stars. Now, many of us think that we're kind of Hollywood stars because there's a lot of drama in our lives. But you know what? Life is tough, and things are tough. The reality is there is just as much difficulty on one side of the fence or the other. So what this song is demonstrating is, if one's for all and all for one, then what about that day when we can all live well together as friends, and not have to struggle so much. Let me tell you a secret about the perception of the grass on this side and the grass on that side. Do you know where the grass is greener? The grass is greener where you water it. So if you notice that your friend's grass is not so green, help him water his grass. Let's listen to a little bit more.
I wish I was strong enough to lift not one but both of us. Someday I will be strong enough to lift not one but both of us.
I can feel your pain, I can feel your struggle. You just wanna live, but everything's so low that you could drown in a puddle. That's why I gotta hold us up, yeah, hold us up. For all the times no one ever spoke for us. So every single time that you hear this song, you can say that's what cut it unsung for us. When the tides get too high and the sea up underneath gets so deep, and you feel like you're just a little person getting lost in the crowd, way up high in the nosebleeds. Cause we've both been there, yeah, both of us. But we still stand tall with our shoulders up. And even though we always against the odds, these are the things that have molded us. And if life hadn't chosen us, sometimes I wonder where it would have wound up. If it's up to me, I'd make a new blueprint and build it from the ground up. Hey, but if it's all for one and one for all, then maybe one day we all can ball. Do it one time for the underdog, from ALC to all of y'all.
Analysis part 2. I know your struggles and what you're going through. We just all want to live and be happy. Now, interesting line. You feel so overwhelmed, you could drown in a puddle. Can somebody really drown in a puddle? Well, if we take a look at the facts, we understand that an individual in a little bit less than a half an inch can actually drown in a puddle of water. There's been various studies worldwide about causes of drowning and things of that nature. And what's really, well, the most interesting study was the study here in the United States. Does anyone know what the #1 cause of drowning here in the United States is? Well, the answer is water. Now, when you hear this song, let it be a reminder to you that the song is written to you and to me, and that it's for people who feel as though no one has ever spoken up for them. Now, here's another very, very interesting line. When the tides get too high and the sea underneath gets too deep, you feel like another person getting lost in a crowd, high in the nosebleeds. Now, you know what we're talking about, the nosebleeds? These are the cheap seats. These are like way, way, way up high. Well, can you really get a nosebleed in the nosebleed seats? Well, I'll tell you what. Not really, because climatic conditions, atmospheric conditions, and things like that in today's sporting arenas, they're pretty much the same. So you won't get a nosebleed from that. However, nosebleeds are a really, really interesting subject. So what I'd like to do, we're going to study the anatomy of the nose just to describe what can happen. Now, when we're talking about altitude and things of that nature, when you get really, really high up in the air gets thin and it gets very, very cold. Inside the nose, there is an area inside the nostrils called the membrane, very, very thin. And behind the membrane of that nose, there are a plethora of blood vessels. Now, if we're high up in the air is thin, it will crack and cause the nosebleed. But what else happens as far as nosebleeds? Alcoholic consumption and drug abuse. Now, how does alcohol deal with this? Well, alcohol really causes dilation of the blood vessels inside the nostril, and it interferes with platelets, which are the primary cause of the blood clotting, unless, of course, you have a vitamin K deficiency. Now, trauma, sporting events, excessive rubbing of the nose, or even picking of the nose can cause nosebleeds, which begs another question. Does anybody know why gorillas have such large nostrils? Well, it's because they have big fingers. All right. You're more likely to get a nosebleed at a sporting event in the nosebleed seats because someone has consumed too much alcohol and it popped you in the nose. Now, you might be asking yourself at this point, in the world does all this have to do with this particular song? Well, nothing really. I'm the professor, and it's my class, so I can talk about what I want. Now, the fact is, we all struggle, and we all need help at one time or another in our lives. And, you know, we don't feel special. We feel like we're isolated, but we pretend that we're okay. It's like walking into church. Hey, how are you? I'm fine, but your world is falling apart. And that's when a good friend will step in. And that's what this song is all about. We are a blessed people, and God can work through us as long as we treat each other as good friends. Thank you for listening. This song is for all the underdogs. I'm not better than anyone else. I'm singing the song as one of you, not for one, but both of us.
I wish I was strong.